Welcome to the Listen Up Girl podcast, your daily LGBTQ plus news podcast. I'm Zach Randles-Friedman, and today is your news for Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. We have six big stories, so let's get right into it. First, the King of the North is now the King of Downing Street. So 2 days ago, the United Kingdom got a new prime minister, and our community actually has a reason to pay attention. Andy Burnham, the former mayor of Greater Manchester, known to many as the King of the North, was sworn in on Monday after Keir Starmer stepped down. And unlike so many politicians who claimed allies when it was convenient, has receipts that go back decades. In 1988, at 18 years old, he marched against Margaret Thatcher's Section 28, the law that banned schools from promoting homosexuality. He later voted to repeal it. He voted for civil partnerships, for equal marriage, for IVF rights for lesbian couples. At Manchester Pride just last year, he stood at a microphone and said plainly and publicly, "I support trans rights and I want that to be known." Now, that doesn't mean our community gets to exhale completely. The UK's EHRC guidance restricting trans people from single-sex spaces is due to come into force in August. Burnham has said it should be implemented, but in the fairest and most compassionate way possible. An LGBTQ plus youth charity in Manchester, which has seen a 171% spike in referrals since the Supreme Court ruling on the definition of sex last year, has already sent Burnham an open letter asking him that commitment to equality from Manchester to Downing Street. The message: we help build your political identity, don't forget us. Next, we go to Uganda, where a kiss is not a crime, and 2 women are finally free. So here is a win we needed this week. In February, 2 young women in northwestern Uganda, Wendy Faith and Elisa Diana Denise, were arrested for police after neighbors reported seeing them kiss in public. Under Uganda's 2023 Anti-Homosexuality Act, they faced life in prison. They were jailed, granted bail, rearrested, denied bail again, and held for months, while human rights groups around the world campaigned for their release. On July 15th, Uganda's Director of Public Prosecutions dropped all charges. Sexual Minorities Uganda wrote, "Today we celebrate an important victory. Wendy and Diana are finally free." Human rights lawyer Frank Mugasha, who has fought for LGBTQ rights in Uganda for years at a great personal risk, welcomed the decision, but made it clear should never have reached this stage. His word: kissing is not a crime, and no one should be prosecuted for who they are or who they love. The activist who won this is clear-eyed about what comes next. The women still need a safe place to live. Local politician has already publicly warned on social media that he is watching everything. The Anti-Homosexuality Act is still in force. The death penalty for aggravated homosexuality is still a law. But today, 2 women who kissed each other are free, and that matters. Next, the WTA wants to swab your cheek, and the community is not having it. The Women's Tennis Association has made a major policy change that took effect yesterday, and it's sending shockwaves through the LGBTQ plus sports world. Starting now, all WTA players are required to undergo a one-time genetic sex test, specifically a cheek swab or blood test for the SRY gene, a marker found on the Y chromosome. Players who test positive face further assessment. Those who refuse could face disciplinary action. To be clear, there are currently 0 transgender women competing in professional women's tennis at this time, 0. But that did not stop the WTA from implementing this policy. Joining World Athletics, World Boxing, and International Olympic Committee in restricting women's competition to biological sex. And Martina Navratilova, who has become the most prominent and relentless anti-trans voice in sports, immediately celebrated the decision online. She called the cheek swab not invasive and stated flatly that WTA supports all women, as in females. Queer tennis fans are calling it what it is, a solution looking for a problem. One fan wrote that as a queer tennis supporter, she felt ashamed of the organization. Critics have noted that the WTA's previous policy, which allowed trans women to compete after maintaining testosterone below a threshold for 2 years, was literally never used. No trans woman competed under it. This policy isn't about fairness. It's about a cultural moment, and the community is watching. What's up with Martina? Why is she even part of this community if she doesn't want to support everyone? That's very disappointing, Martina. Very. Next, the administration wants FIFA to ban trans women from the Women's World Cup. And since we're talking about sports and politics, let's talk about FIFA. The organization's World Cup task force, led by Andrew Giuliani, has been pressuring FIFA to guarantee that women play in Women's World Cups and not biological men. The 2031 Women's World Cup is scheduled to be held in the United States, and the administration is dangling that host deal as leverage. FIFA currently has no centralized sex verification policy for women's soccer, and right now, FIFA's own anti-discrimination partner, an organization called FARE, F-A-R-E, which works to combat equality in soccer, is pushing back hard. Their executive director warned that the blanket ban would increase stigma against transgender athletes and women with intersex characteristics, and FIFA should not be embedded in exclusion permanently into its regulations. To be clear, there are no known transgender women competing at the elite level in women's soccer. This is not about any specific player. This is about politics. And it's the same playbook we have seen in sport after sport. Use the rule to send a message even when there is no actual problem to solve. We'll watch this closely. The 2031 Women's World Cup is 5 years away, and the pressure for this campaign is just getting started. Next, we go to Megan Rapinoe, lost a World Cup deal because of an AI, said she was a risk. Megan Rapinoe is a two-time Women's World Cup champion, a two-time Olympic gold medalist, and one of the most iconic figures in the history of American soccer. And last week, she revealed that she dropped from a major World Cup brand campaign because AI software flagged her as trans allyship as a corporate risk. In an op-ed for Marie Claire, Rapinoe wrote that she was literally packing for the shoot when her agent called and said they'd pulled her back. The brand had implemented new AI screening technology that flagged potential talent for risk. Her risk factor, she had spoken publicly in support of trans rights. She called it exactly what it is: false fear-mongering from anti-inclusion politicians that made brands lacking moral clarity run from mere associations within the LGBTQ plus community. And she went further. She pointed to a ballot measure in her home state of Washington that would require all girls, not just trans girls, all girls, to be medically certified to play sports and mandate invasive physical exams for female athletes. These policies, she wrote, make all girls and women less safe. She ended her piece with a message to trans people: to all my trans family, I am with you forever and always. Megan Rapinoe lost a check to stand on the right side of history, and this is called character. Thank you, Megan. We see you and we appreciate you. And then we go to Botswana, said no to criminalizing love. Now it's fighting for marriage. So finally, a story of progress meeting resistance from a country that has been quietly making history. In April, Botswana officially repealed its colonial-era anti-sodomy law after a court ruled it unconstitutional. That was a massive win, one of the most significant LGBTQ plus legal advances on the African continent in years. Now advocates in Botswana are pushing further. They want equal marriage, and they're hitting a wall of fierce religious opposition. Christian groups, traditional leaders, and conservative politicians are mobilizing against any legal recognition of same-sex relationships. The pushback is intense and familiar to anyone who has watched the fight play in a country after country. But Botswana is a country that just proved it is capable of changing. It repealed a law that had been on the books since the British colonial era. It has a government that allowed court ruling to stand, and advocates are not backing down. The fight for equal marriage in Botswana is just beginning, and we are going to keep watching and bring you updates as they come through. That's your Listen Up Girl podcast for Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. If today's episode made you think, made you angry, or something to hold on to, please share it with somebody. Follow and subscribe to wherever you listen. Leave a rating because it takes 30 seconds and it makes a real difference. Find me on Instagram and YouTube at TheRealZachRE and listenupgirl.com. I'll be back tomorrow with more LGBTQ plus news. Thanks for listening.